Inside a hangar at Cape Canaveral Air Force Base are a collection of 50 and 60-year-old rockets, well-preserved artifacts that retired Colonel John Hilliard says represent the very beginning of America's space program.
Makes me feel when I was young.
Colonel Hilliard, who now volunteers at the Air Force Museum, was in Brevard when the military picked Cape Canaveral as its backup site for a new missile test range. Initially, it was supposed to be built in Southern California.
And they were going to launch down along the Baja. However, the President of Mexico says you cannot put any ground stations there and you cannot launch over our territory. So our second choice was here.
The Cape Canaveral Air Force Station was established in 1951. One of the early launch pads and control rooms, number 26, has been completely preserved. It still houses the equipment used to launch rockets that were tested in the 50s and 60s for their ability to carry nuclear warheads and satellites into space.
So this equipment dates back to the 50s, and it was technology at the top level back in those days.
And those who launched the rockets were much closer than they are now. Back then, the rocket had to be electrically hardwired to launch control, so engineers sat a little more than a football field away during liftoff. As a result, the windows have 45 sheets of glass, and the ceiling is 8 feet thick concrete.
But that is to protect you in case a missile would land on top of this blockhouse.
Today, the last 5 minutes of all modern era launches are controlled automatically by a computer. But back in the day of vacuum tubes and switches, somebody actually had to physically flip a switch to launch and ignite the rocket. But sometimes, in the case of this Juno 2 from 1959, it didn't always go as planned.
So we had a number of failures. Then we overcome those failures, then we're almost perfect. And that's the way it is today.
Today, the Cape houses the Air Force's 45th Space Wing, whose sitting general has the final authority over every launch that takes off from the Space Coast.
We do not want that rocket landing in Titusville or Cocoa Beach. So she has a responsibility to ensure that that package is working, and she has the capability for destroying it if it does go off course.
Even today, the retired colonel almost never misses a launch. It reminds him of how he felt when those Air Force rockets of yesteryear successfully made it into space.
When that happened, you were very excited. You did something for this nation.
And now those rockets and those rich history of missiles have led us now to the technology that we have through the Apollo program, to the shuttle program, and now on to SLS, the Space Launch System, which will one day take NASA to Mars. And if you think about it, this is an incredible journey that the Air Force has taken. And in fact, NASA's launch pads currently are idle. Only the Air Force has pads that are currently launching rockets, and those are the ones that you see launching today.